What's going on, guys? It's Dem here, and I kind of wanted to put in a few of my thoughts about the PS4. Don't worry, this isn't going to be another video of someone just listing off the specs. I'm not going to even mention them, unless they somehow segue into my thoughts at all. And they probably will, but I'm not just going to sit here and list off the specs of the PS4 because, well, everyone else has done that, and I don't see the point in like repeating what you already know, seeing as the specs have now been made official. So I just kind of wanted to go straight into my thoughts and my thoughts of the upcoming Xbox release, because now that Sony even have released the PS4 announcement, they're kind of pushing Xbox to make the next move. And it's kind of been unlike Microsoft to be the ones to make the second move, but I actually think it'll be beneficial to them to actually make a later move, because now even though the specs will already be official, they'll know what they're up against beforehand. And if somehow the Xbox's specs are actually better at this point, I failed that. Trying to jump across the roofs. But if the Xbox specs are somewhat better, it's probably just going to allow them to almost move forward before the PS4 can. And I keep feeling like saying PS3. PS4 still sounds a bit weird to say to me. So games. What I didn't like about the whole announcement, and I was watching it live, is they only showed exclusives, and which kind of was weird because they were trying to tie into this whole social element where gaming's are now a social thing, and it used to be a more personal one-on-one experience, and now they're trying to make it more into a social thing. And the fact that all they did is release exclusives, or at least showed exclusives, kind of, I don't know, doesn't sit right with me. And I will kind of segue into the specs here, especially seeing as the Xbox and the PS4, the Xbox meaning the new Xbox, not the 360, the one that's going to be released, judging by the dev kits, have pretty much exactly the same hardware, give or take maybe a couple of version numbers, but the way they look and their actual architecture at this point, especially when it comes to the dev kits, are looking exactly the same. So more than ever, it's just going to be down to which interface you like more. And seeing as Microsoft are operating system, like initially are an operating system company, I think they're definitely going to have the upper hand when it comes to interfaces. Because however much I wish I could use something other than Windows, I always come back to it because of the interface. It's something familiar, it's something you know how to use. So Microsoft are definitely going to have the upper hand there. I've never been a big fan of the cross-media bar thing that they've got going on, and judging by the one screenshot they showed, they're kind of going for something that looks like that, but isn't exactly like that, which I think is great, because I'm not a fan of the cross-media bar thing. Something which I did see in another video, I saw Woody's Gamertag's video about the PS4, and he said something that wasn't in the announcement, that the PS4 is going to have almost an exclusive processor for multitasking. So when you're in a game, and both the Xbox 360 and the PS3 suffer from this, if you're playing during a game and try and you load either the hit the guide button or I guess it's the PlayStation button to bring up the in-game menu, that menu is actually quite laggy because it's trying to run it at the same time as the game. But Sony are kind of trying to combat that by having a second processor there, which will be exclusive to that menu system, so it'll be still as fluid and fast as it would be usually, which I think is great. And I don't know how true that is. That's just what Woody's Gamertag was speculating, but personally I think that'd be a huge advantage, and I don't see why they wouldn't do that, because just powering a menu system like that wouldn't need any more power than just a basic mobile phone processor. So I'm guessing that is kind of true. Hopefully we'll see that in the Xbox, because the Xbox 360 is very old now, and as it gets older, the interface, every time they release a new revision of the dashboard, it seems to slow down a little bit, because they're still trying to implement new features. Obviously they're trying to optimize it as they go along, but as they're trying to implement new features, it's obviously bogging down. I guess that's pretty much my thoughts on it. I've never been a huge Sony fan, but I think they're definitely going down the right route here. Ditching the whole cell processor architecture was a great idea, because it just pushed them out of the market. They thought, when they first were showing off cell processors, they were like, oh, this is going to give us a huge advantage in the market. But all it did is made it more difficult for programmers and more expensive for programmers to make the games, so they actually ended up with subpar games. And the fact that both consoles are going for an x86 32-bit architecture, and I've also seen somewhere that it's also a 64-bit, which I was worried about. The fact that they're both going for that kind of architecture, even though Microsoft haven't confirmed it at this time, but I'm guessing they will do, judging by the dev kits. The ports are going to be pretty much exactly the same. Non-exclusive games at this point will be exactly the same, and usually Sony have suffered from, especially with the Call of Duty series, where the Xbox version just far outweighs the PlayStation version, and that's just because the cell processor is harder to program for, and obviously Infinity Ward or Activision, Treyarch, whatever, they don't want to invest the time and money in developing for the cell architecture. When it comes to RAM, something that was going to be a limitation is in the dev kits. A few of the dev kits apparently only had 4 gig of RAM, or it was people were speculating that the PS4 was only going to have 4 gig of RAM. Obviously, if you watch the announcement, it's actually going to have 8 gigs, which is going to be shared with the graphics card. And anyone who knows anything about computing instantly goes, wait a second, they're going to use normal RAM on a graphics card? If you don't know, normal RAM is actually quite a lot slower than graphics RAM, so you'd be right to be worried about that. But what Sony have done to combat that is it's actually GDDR5, which also, if you know anything about computing, is actually graphics card RAM, which is a lot faster, and they're going to be using that for the processor and the graphics card, so it's a shared pool. Whether I'm a fan of the shared pool or not, they've definitely gone down the right route of using GDDR5, which I'm very happy about. That's about it. I'm definitely excited. I'm definitely looking into seeing what Microsoft have to offer. The only thing I'm seeing so far, which I'm very happy about, is the fact that they're going with a PC architecture, which just means that it'll be better ports all round. When there's been console games that have been ported to PC, we've always ended up with shoddy shoddy ports here on the PC, and the fact that they're running an x86 architecture means that the ports are going to be pretty much exactly the same, like the exactly the same game. I can't even talk. But everything in the future is looking really good. But as I said, I'm not getting my hopes up yet, because this was just an announcement, and even though they've announced the specs, they could completely change. And I'm also quite looking for Microsoft's announcement, because at this point Sony have basically gone, your move now for Microsoft. I'd actually be quite happy in seeing both the consoles being exactly the same, and just the interfaces being different, as I mentioned before, because then it'd just come down to preference, and hopefully the games will be the same. I'd really like there to be like no more exclusives, and all games being run on different machines, and it was just different, whatever your preference was. But obviously that's never going to happen, because they want to make money. So this video's wrapping up, guys. I hope if you've I don't know, enjoyed my thoughts on the PS4, I guess. Remember to leave yours in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.